Have you ever wanted to turn a drawing on paper into a video game? Well, I just spent 14 days doing that, so stick around to see how that went. Hey everyone, I'm Adam, and I wanted to make a game with a sketchy pen drawing aesthetic for a while, but I didn't know what kind of game to make, and I was procrastinating, but I recently got the idea to make a precision platformer like Celeste. I know that might not be a very novel idea, but it's simple and gives me an opportunity to mess with level design, which is also something I haven't really done before. But I don't want to get too carried away with this project, and I gotta finish this video before the year ends, so I'll only spend 14 days on this game. Keep a game jam mindset. I'm sure it will work out fine. I made a placeholder level and the platformer character controller with quality of life features such as coyote time and jump buffering. I drew some button and spike assets, took a photo of them and cut them out in Paint Tool SAI. You might ask, why didn't I scan them? The answer is, because I hate printers! This was supposed to be a joke, but it's not anymore. Piece of junk can't even scan. Okay, so after cutting out my assets, I put together a main menu. We'll give it some functionality later. In the meantime, I made another placeholder scene, this time with tile maps. You'll see why later. I put down some spikes and wrote a hazard script that kills the player upon touch, but for this to work, we also need a checkpoint system. So I made a game manager script to keep track of the currently active checkpoint and count the player deaths. Okay, so if you have multiple levels in different scenes, you will need a player to be able to play them. The easiest solution might be to make a prefab of your player and drop it in each level, but I wanted to try something different, so get ready for some over-engineering. I made a new scene and put my player, game manager and other necessary stuff here. I named it persistent scene and will load it additively together with the level scene. Never done this before, but hey, time to try something new. Kinda funny that I decided to do these kind of experiments when I only have 2 weeks to work on this project. Oh well, I'm sure everything will work first try. Anyway, I jumped back to the main menu and made a stage select screen. Except it can't load any stages, so the entire main menu is still useless. And then I spent 1.5 weeks being addicted to Cult of the Lamb, Sims 4 and Darkest Dungeon. But then I returned with replenished motivation, 10 more days to make an actual game out of this project. I made a UI manager script that can open dialog windows and made it so that we can actually quit the game with the quit button in the main menu. This way, the main menu is no longer completely useless. And I made an auto player spawner object. This will wait half a second, check if there's a player in the scene, then if there isn't, it will load the persistent scene additively. And I did this by turning the start function into a coroutine. Because that's something that you can actually do, by the way. Afterward, I drew some more assets. I made a flag animation, and I hooked it up to the checkpoint. I also made a fake pause screen that doesn't actually pause the game, but it lets you quit to the main menu. And next, get this, I made a load menu that lets you load save files. Yeah, this is where the real over-engineering begins. I first made this rectangular load slot and square new game button, but then I realized I should put a delete button next to each slot. So I ended up redesigning it and made the new game button the same shape as the load slots. But now, with the new game button working, we can at last start the game from the main menu. Then I spent a bunch of time debugging my save load system. I also made a stage changer object that transports you to a different scene when you touch it. And then I spent more time debugging this one as well. Who would have thought messing with additive scene loading might cause trouble, or something else. I was wondering if I should call the coroutine from the stage changer or game manager or something like that, but then I chose wrong. I spent a bunch of time debugging and then I remembered that coroutines are attached to the mono behavior, and therefore, if the mono behavior is destroyed, the coroutine is cancelled. That's why my coroutine didn't get carried over to the new scene. I added a new screen that shows up if you click load slot. Here you can either continue where you left off or choose stage select, but of course that still isn't functional. And then I finally got into the real level design. We got to start off with some easy jumps, low risk, but also just a few spikes and souls. I drew some more assets, and then used them to dress up the level I made, Hollow Knight style. Then I finally went to create a working stage select screen. We spam the buttons at the start of the game, then we unlock them according to the selected save file. I use some jagged arrays and nested loops here. Man, this stuff can get a bit confusing sometimes. Then I had to spend some time debugging because the stage buttons didn't want to take me to the right scene. In the end, the bug got fixed when I extracted the code into a separate method. And maybe in the process I changed some stuff, but in the end it just works. So then I made stage 1 too, and for this I made use of the spring platform asset that I drew very early on in this project. And woohoo! Man, this is really fun. Amazing level design. Then I made stage 1-3, and I didn't want it to be like this, but incidentally all stages start on the left side of the screen. Anyhow, I made a fragile platform for this stage, and even more souls! I don't know, man, have I gone too far? Are we neck deep in Path of Pain? Dude, I really hope Silksong will have multiple Paths of Pain. One simply wasn't enough. On the second to last day, I started making the title screen logo of the game. I came up with the idea of what I wanna do pretty early on in this project, but then while sketching I realized that the proportions are wrong, but I quickly fixed it by switching the words. After this I decided to draw each letter individually and arrange them into the title in Unity. And then I finally started working on the player animations. The best way to draw the animation on paper would be if I had a glass table with a light source underneath, so I could trace over my previous frames, but I don't have a setup like that, and besides, it would feel kinda wasteful to draw one frame per page. Well, unless my character was actually big enough for the whole page, and if my character wasn't a stickman, that is, but whatever. But anyway, since I'm using checkered paper, it's a bit easier to keep proportions. So then I added the player animations to the game, and I learned something. You probably shouldn't leave the player animations to the end of the project. The stickman is taller than the placeholder player was, not a big deal, but it could have conflicted with the level design. Another thing is, I kinda worried that the stickman player is hard to see. Maybe I should have made him a bit more... thick! How original. Oh, anyway, not gonna change it now. Instead, I put a trail on him, hopefully that improves the visibility. So, last day, what should I do? New mechanics and more levels? No, I don't think I will. I just ended up throwing in sound effects. Because surprise, the game was silent all along, and any sound effect you may have heard was only part of the video. So, normally I use a sound manager script in my project, as taught by Brackies. But this time, I just simply threw audio sources and clips in the scripts that needed them. Cause really, do I need a sound manager script? Actually, yeah, it probably would have been smart to keep all audio stuff in one script, but whatever, not gonna be an issue for a small game jam project, is it? One more thing, these souls need some sound effect to them. Remind me, what does a soul sound like again? Well, I couldn't find the basso sound effect, so what if I just downloaded the drill sound effect and looped it? I bet it would sound terrible if every one of these souls was making that noise. Maybe I should mute the souls by default and tell people not to unmute them. Or I have no idea what the hell to do with this crap. What else did I do with this project? I made a final stage to give a playground to the player, let them celebrate if they beat the game, which shouldn't be too hard. I should keep in mind that the developer is always much better at their own game than the average player. Another thing is, it looks like barring any technical difficulties, I might be finishing this devlog early, which means I could afford to wait a few days before publishing the video and put some more work into the game, try making a browser version, and perhaps expand the stages. Let's do a quick year review. This year, I wanted to upload 5 devlogs to my channel, including this one. I got kind of close. For next year, my goal will be the same, 5 devlogs, and reaching 50 subs, or 100 if a miracle happens. Anyway, thanks for watching, see you in 2023.